Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 340. I'm Rachael Herron, and you are listening to How Do You Write? I am so thrilled that you are here today as I am talking to Nat Connors, who is going to talk to us about how crime pays, honestly, in most books, which was so obvious when we started talking about it, but it had never crossed my mind. Completely fascinating. We also talk about his project Kindletrends, which is great. We talk about market awareness, all sorts of fun stuff. You are going to love this interview with the charming Nat. So that is coming up. What has been going on around here? I am still doing the video editing of preparing to publish in today's market, which is going to be my evergreen course on traditional publishing versus self-publishing and all the things you need to know about both. I am really enjoying doing the editing. I actually enjoy doing this kind of thing, but it's also incredibly tedious. And I am so bored of myself. I'm so bored of looking at my face and hearing myself talk and hearing myself stutter. And I'm pretty good at just keeping recording, keeping filming. And then, I need to say the same thing 3 times and stuttering and cutting those pieces out. But boy, is Rachael Herron just I can't even say my own name anymore. Rachael Herron is a snore to me this week. So I can't wait for that to be finished. And hopefully I will get it done. I was hoping to get it done this week, hopefully next week. We have also been doing some packing and getting ready to move in 2 weeks. So that is coming up. And I need to, as I say this out loud, I'm actually hearing what I'm saying. I need to remember to give myself a little grace as well as we are moving. I always tend to think that I can downplay the big life stuff, and I can't. Life is life, and things are weird, and moving even just across town is a big deal. And I sometimes am just like a cat. I get very upset when things are not in their place. So you'll notice that if you ever look at the video, things are mostly still behind me. Everything is packed around me, but I need the backdrop to at least be soothing to me as I look in the camera right now. So that probably won't look like that next week or the week after that. But then I look forward to setting up my new office, which will be amazing. Can't wait to be there. Let's see. Oh, I went on a writing retreat over the weekend, and that was truly blissful. Me and 3 dear ones got in the car and we headed north. We're still in we're still in the holiday time for New Zealand, and New Zealand goes on vacation from the week before Christmas until about either the 16th or the what is it this year, the 16th or the 23rd of January. But when I say everyone, I mean everyone. I may have said this last week, but like my pharmacy is closed. Everything is closed. And when we were making these reservations to hang out, because Allie, aka Mulford, was coming from Australia to do this. We couldn't really move times around. That was what we had. And then the nearest place we could find with 4 bedrooms, because we are all women who like our own space, and I love that about us, was a couple of hours north, which in New Zealand is like driving for 12 hours. Oh my God. If you drove 2 hours in the States, that could just be getting home from the concert in San Francisco and living in Oakland. But we drove 2.5 hours north, and we road tripped. We all went in my car, and we stayed in this post office in a tiny 1-horse town named Kimbolton. And it had one fantastic restaurant and another restaurant, which was also really, really good. But we went to that one night because the restaurant in town closed at 5 because it was the holidays and they didn't need to be open for dinner. They were more of a cafe. So we went to the other restaurant that was open. It was 20 minutes into the country. Y'all, we drove 20 minutes into the country, nothing but sheep and grazing land and hills and dales. And suddenly this little barbecue joint that was full of New Zealand farmers wearing stubbies, which it was what a blessing. It was so good. And we got great food from them. And we just sat around and ate so many snacks and did a lot of writing. I was kind of a dumbass and forgot my computer cord, which was actually not that bad, because I got 5 hours on my computer. I finished the revision I was working on 7 Miracles again for my agent last time. Hopefully And that goes out this week. And I got that done. And then after my computer died, all I could do was just sit around and read. And that was blissful. So we had a really wonderful kind of intimate time doing the writer retreat thing. I can't recommend it more. If you have a few writing buddies near you, just go away for the weekend if you can afford it. And I know that finding that time and space and energy is difficult, but if it is a possibility, I recommend that you do it. If you don't have any writing friends yet, make some. What that means is going to maybe some of your local meetups. And as I always say, avoid the guy who calls himself Uncle Irving because he'll be there, but there might be somebody who you really click with and you can tell. Go after that person. Make friends with them. Become writing buddies. It can be incredibly amazing. So that's what I did. And now I'm back. And classes are going great. I love my students. That's always true. And I'm so lucky in that. I think that's about all that have been going on around here. I have also gotten back into nail polish. You will see I've got red nail polish on. Thank you, Ann Kemp. That was a really random thing to share with you, but I'm kind of feeling random today. So randomly, let me thank the new patrons. You can always check out my Patreon over at patreon.com/Rachel. These are the new ones, and you are supporting me writing the essays that are the passion of my heart. They really, really are. Plus, I've got some perks over there to help writers. But what your patronage really means to me is that I get to write these essays that I love writing. So to Katie Forrest, who upped her pledge, thank you, thank you. I wish for you the soul satisfaction that comes when you write a scene that you thought would stump you forever and instead simply pours out of you. To Tess Enterlin, I wish you the feeling of having exercised without having to sweat at all. You are left with all the cardiovascular benefits and with none of the wheezing, just the endorphins coursing through your body. To Stacy Ramey, I wish for you the smell of a box of fresh pencils and the joy of the shavings curling as the points get sharper and sharper, ready to be used by you. Ooh, just think about that smell. That is one of the best smells ever, isn't it? I once had a perfume that it was a Chanel. Ooh, I've got to figure out which Chanel that was. It had the undertone of pencil shavings. Oh, it was good. To Rebecca Hunter. Hello, Rebecca. For you, I wish the satisfaction of turning exactly the right phrase, the one that will make people feel precisely the emotion that you wanted to insert right into their heartstrings. Well done, you. And to Tom Holbrook, I wish for you the happiness that comes after a day spent in a hammock reading the best book that you can remember opening in many, many years. So thank you to my patrons, all past, present, and future patrons. I really, really appreciate you. And I hope you all like these wishes that I am giving for patrons because they're fun for me to think of. They're fun for me to say. And I hope that as I say them, even though I'm saying them to the new patron, I hope that you get a little bit of ease and comfort and happiness from hearing them too. So they're going out to you too. Thank you for being here, for listening. Please enjoy this interview with Nat. Here is his bio. Nat Connors is a rom-com writer, medical scientist, and dance teacher, and creator of the Kindletrends newsletter for genre fiction authors. Kindletrends started when Nat got fed up with trying to make sense of the Kindle Store and wanted a no-nonsense summary of the most important information. Nat shared it with author friends and now wants to share it with the author community as a whole. Nat works at writing every day and uses this information to write, publish, and launch their own books. So it has to be focused, relevant, and actionable. Please enjoy this interview with Nat. And here we go. Well, I'm so pleased to have you on the show today. Will you please share your name and pronouns with us?
Thank you very much, Rachel. Nat Connors, he, they.
Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
You are in charge of a very cool thing out on the internet, and we're going to talk about that. But I met you in person, and I was
Yeah.
like, this guy's cool. So
No.
please come on the show and talk about the thing. And the thing I am referring to is Kindletrends. And people know me by now that I don't talk about things on the show that I don't like, that I don't believe in, that haven't tried, I haven't used. And Kindletrends is pretty cool. So I want to talk about what Kindletrends is, and then also how you got there, how you came
Yeah.
to Kindletrends.
Yeah, sure. Okie dokie. I mean, one of the things before I start, one of the things that I like the most about your craft work, Rachel, is how, as well as articulate it is, how carefully thought through it is. I'm here to say
Thanks.
that yeah, your protestations about winging stuff, I'm just not so sure about because your craft work, and there's a point to this about Kindletrends, your craft work is really measured and methodical, and that was one of the things that kind of switched me on to it. That because I'm kind of a bit of a nerd, when I started self-publishing, which was about, I don't know, 6 years ago or so, I'd always thought I would grow up to be a writer because I was kind of a small kid with really thick glasses. I wear contact lenses, and I'm an only child, so I couldn't catch a ball, which in like early 70s New Zealand is not so good. So I always thought I'd grow up to be a writer, but then life got in the way, as it does. And I came back to the idea about 5 or 6 years ago, and I'd done a bunch of things that were quite sort of analytic. And one of the things I wanted to do was to understand, as a genre fiction writer, what people really wanted, what they were looking for in their genre fiction. And I found that really interesting, just the process of looking through people's comments on the Amazon store and so on, and understanding what people liked and what they didn't like, and why, and how it sort of changed. And I was doing this, and at one point I was like, man, I wish I could just get an Excel spreadsheet of all of this information, like all the blurbs and the ranks and the names of the authors and stuff, and just kind of clicking, there it is.
Yeah.
So I started doing that for myself. And like a lot of indie authors, I ended up kind of with a community around me of people that I'd met on various sites and all this kind of thing. And I sent that to some of them, and they were like, hey, this is great. Can you do this for historical romance? Can you do this for short romance? Can you do this for dark romance? Can you do it for cozy mystery and stuff? And at about that point, they were all saying, man, you should totally sell this. You should totally sell this. And I was like, no, look, I'm a writer. I'm not a data analyst. It's not my gig. I just write about love. But eventually I kind of succumbed, and I thought, look, if this is something where I can use a little bit of kind of data analysis nerdery and fuse it to my writing and my interest in self-publishing and helping other people, because I do a lot of sort of teaching type stuff, then that's actually a lot of fun. And it has been a lot of fun because I've gotten to learn so much from people who write in all different genres.
Mm.
I always say I'm barely an expert in my own genre, let alone anybody else's. And what we've seen, I've seen over the past couple of years, is the dynamics of different genres are very different. That what I call market mechanics, that's like how frequently people publish and the length of books and the structure of blurbs, radically different.
Mhm.
Everyone knows that different cover tropes are different, but also we can see things across different markets. Just when you and I were at RWNZ, the Great Romance Writers of New Zealand conference, one of the things that we were looking at there was the difference in cozy mystery cover design between, just to dive into an example, cozy mystery cover design between the German market and the US and UK market.
Mhm.
Radically different. And if anyone's interested, I can link to some of that, where you can, like, if you look at cover montages like this, very different, similar kinds of books, but the visual language of these things in different markets is very different.
And
And we
sometimes
never
even
would.
the same book itself, if it's traditionally published, when I've been traditionally published, they'll do
Yes.
different covers in
Yes.
different markets because of that. But yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm looking at with working with the Spa Girls on at the moment is a comparison of Amazon versus wide storefronts, Barnes and Noble, Google
Oh,
Books.
wow.
Same thing, same thing. What we want to do is look at KU covers
Yeah.
versus wide covers and see, are
Yeah.
there any systematic differences? And if so, the question there is, like, if you are in KU and you want to go wide, do you need to recover? The answer
Mhm.
is it depends. We'll find out in what way, And also, if you're starting off wide, what kind of cover design should you have if you want something that you're not going to need to recover? What kind of cover design is going to work both for Amazon and wide? Same thing with price points,
Yep.
lots to go on about there.
That's fascinating. That is fascinating. So, are you still enjoying? Well, actually, we haven't answered the question. What is Kindle
Yeah,
Trends?
yeah. Okay, so yeah, sorry, I got off the topic. So Kindle Trends is a weekly and monthly set of newsletters that I send out to a bunch of indie authors and small publishers and so forth, that gives you up-to-date information about what's going on in a bunch of different genres across the Kindle Store. The kind of elevator pitch, the 30-second thing that I say to people is, it's like the Wall Street Journal or the Financial Times for working fiction authors. Like if you're a writer and you want to keep up quickly with what's going on in your genre, then you get this email every Monday morning and you sit down with your tea or coffee or whatever, and you look at what's going on. And so this is all information that we can find out ourselves. But what I do for people is collect it all in one place and then show you the differences. So you can see what's become more popular since last week or last month. If you're writing blurbs, you can see all of the blurbs in the top 100 all in one file and just kind of skim through them and spot the ones. This is an exercise I do every week. Spot the ones that really kind of catch your attention, and those are the ones that you maybe want to study to figure out. If you want to look at covers, you can see all the different covers from the top 100 or the top 400 or whatever. You can also use that information for generating Amazon ads. I know a lot of people who are into making Amazon ads do this kind of every week or every month, because they look at the books that are moving the fastest,
Yeah.
So overall, I guess Kindle Trends is helping people make their research time more efficient and effective. So it's sort of doing all the donkey work of going and getting stuff and then presenting it to you in a way that means you can use your human brain, because I'm a very lazy person, Rachel. You can use your human brain to do the stuff that only humans can do.
I'm not going to buy the lazy thing, because you
I'm a
do more before 9 a.m. than I don't know how you respond to all the emails, and you respond personally, and that's fabulous. But what you're just saying about Kindle Trends does make me think about what we were discussing in email: market awareness versus market following. Because my own competitive nature, when I start thinking about like what is happening right now, what is going on right now, it makes me want to do it right now, and
Mm.
and chase the chase the market. Talk me down. Talk me down.
Yeah. Sure. No, that's I mean, where to start? I think for me, the most important thing here is I started from a belief, which I still have, that being aware of the market is as much a matter of nourishing my own creative practice, if that doesn't sound too kind of airy-fairy, as it is making money. I mean, I am a professional fiction writer. I work at writing every day and everything, but I'm here for the long haul. And what that means is I need to do something that is also creatively fulfilling for me. I need to make sure that I enjoy my day,
Yeah.
because like the opposition between writing to market and writing for your heart, I now believe is a bit of a phony one. I don't think it's like, there's an element of that, and everyone has good days and bad days. I mean, I'm sure there are days, I'm sure, where you need to sit down and go, right, butt in chair, type, fingers on keyboard, type, but what you hope is that the good days outnumber the tough days.
Yeah.
And for me, a big part of that is making sure that I'm telling stories that I enjoy, but also that other people enjoy. So I'd always urge your listeners and everyone else out there to think of market awareness rather than writing to market or writing to trend. So that's one thing, is the more I see how many other great writers there are out there in my genre or in any other genre, and the more I see how excited and how much fun other readers get out of that stuff, that isn't depressing for me. It has an innovating effect. Like I get excited by it because I'm like, wow, look at all this great writing. Look at all the fun that people are having, all the emotions they're experiencing. This is cool. I want to be a part of that. So that's the first thing, I suppose, that market awareness for me is about. Understanding what's out there and making sure that I inform my own writing through what other people are doing. I don't, I don't think you need to worry very much about plagiarism or sort of copying what other people do, because I hope you'd agree that if someone gave you and I like a detailed scene-by-scene plot outline and said, okay, guys, go and write this book, we'd end up with totally different books because of our backgrounds, who we are. Be a pretty interesting exercise.
I've
is actually get it.
always wanted to do that exercise. I've always wanted to
I
challenge like
reckon,
2 or
yep,
3
yep.
people to do that.
Yeah, I would like to do it, and I would like to see whether like in a blind trial, whether you could even tell they were generated by the same plot outline. I reckon,
Interesting.
yep, right,
Yeah.
because individual
Yeah.
voices are very, very different, So I
Yeah.
don't think we need to be worried. That's the second thing. I don't think we need to be worried so much about being driven by the market or anything like that. Instead, I think we are aware of what's going on without being bound by it. And the third thing, and this relates to something really interesting I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues about a while ago, is that I get what you mean about wanting to sort of chase the market. But if you dig into tropes or themes or things that are popular, I reckon you can kind of unpack them and understand what the emotions are that are driving them, the role that those themes or tropes or whatever play in a plot, and then you can fold them into your own creative process. And a big part of what I talk about, I've got this kind of 4-part how to do research article series on the Kindletrends website, which we can link to. And a big part of that actually is about unpacking tropes. There's lots of great craft writing out there about what tropes mean. Well, one of the things that I want to contribute to that is the idea that tropes are a shorthand for a package of emotions and experiences.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't take, like, this is a collaborative thing. I'm a scientist, so that was a collaborative kind of concept. And
Oh, great
my
idea.
favorite example here, and I don't want to dwell on this too much, it's one that I use in my teaching, is that vampire stories aren't really about being dead or drinking blood. They are about different things depending on the genre. In the context of a horror story, the vampire trope conveys like a sense of hopelessness, damnation, being forsaken by God, all of that, like a sense of eternal torment, right? But in a romance context, the trope of vampirism is much more likely to be associated with sort of obsessive love or like
Mm.
a sense of eternal protection. So
Hmm.
that's a great example, like an easy example of a situation where we've got this one concept, vampires, but the trope actually and the emotions that it implies are different depending on the genre. Now, what I think this means is you could write a story that appeals to people who like vampire stories without necessarily having a vampire in it, as long as you unpack the trope and you fold it into what you're doing.
Right. Right.
And that's why, yeah. So that's my sort of take-home thing there, is that understanding tropes through market research is about unpacking the emotions and experiences in the trope and then folding that back into your creative process and writing them your way.
I love hearing all of this, and it makes so much sense to me. And what I have done and what has worked for me, and I would love to know your opinion on it, is because
Mm.
I always feel the urge to chase the market, and then I want to lay on the carpet in my office and die when I think about it. So then I write the book that I love, and then this may be really, this is backwards, but then I start doing the research about where I can fit it into, because I
Mm.
used to do the research of where I was going to put it, and then I wanted to die. And now I write the book I want to write and I figure out where it goes. And something like Kindletrends helps me with that, because then I can determine what is happening, where I want to place it, what I want to do with covers, what I want to do with tropes, blurbs. I mean, I've already done the things with tropes, but identifying them because we write them naturally, and having this much information
Yeah.
at your fingertips is the helpful part.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, so picking up on something you just said there, often we write tropes naturally, and that's right and proper. That's kind of how it is. So I would say there's sort of a push-pull relationship between our own internal creative process and the market, and that's how it should be. I don't think anybody really sits down and says with a completely blank slate and has no personal feelings about what they want to write.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I don't think anybody writes an entire thing with like nobody creates in a vacuum. We are inspired by all the things around us, by the sunset, by talking to the people we love, by the music that we love, all of those things. And they come from the same creative spring as the books in your genre, ultimately via, a pretty long ass process. So yeah, I mean, I think what you're talking about is very common, that you will have an idea for something, but I would claim that actually, like, your ideas are being subconsciously influenced by a lot of the
Absolutely.
same sources as the things that are going on in the market, you know. So you get to a point where your story is kind of half formed or three-quarters formed, and then you're sort of thinking, okay, where's this going to sit? How does it fit with my backlist? How does it fit with like my brand now and the writer that I want to be? You know, someone like you who's got a very strong sense of your own brand. You can say, okay, this is, if I want to write this kind of story, here's how I fit it into what my readers want, and here's how I fit it into my brand, you know. But for someone who is maybe earlier on in their writing journey, they've got to do a bit before they can get to that point. You know, they've got to try one thing and then try another thing. So it's something else that I hope Kindletrends helps people with, is that process, helping them dig into what is resonating with readers in the market, and then deciding which parts are for them, which parts to, you know, helping people develop their brand, which I think is really neat. It's because it's
And
a difficult process.
and before anybody, falls off their chair at the word brand, I always like to point out that brand is something we talk about in marketing, knowing that is important, but it is also knowing what your heart is. I believe our brands come directly from what our core stories are. And my core story is always the mother-daughter relationship or chosen family. But what that boils down to is hope. And
Yeah,
that is, so hope is my brand. When people look at my books, it's not
yeah,
on my
yeah, yeah.
website, it's not, but that's what they feel. And then knowing where that kind of brand fits into tropes and genres and what is hot in the market right now.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we were emailing back and forth, and you had a really interesting take on. I mean, I bet you see things all the time that are surprising and interesting. But you mentioned something about crime
Yeah, look,
being.
this
Yeah, tell
is
me about this, because this is
yeah,
something
okay.
I've
So
just
yeah,
been thinking about.
this is a really interesting story. So one of the things that we do quite a bit in Kindle Trends is look at the relative popularity of certain tropes, or what I call story elements, which is kind of like a general term, because I love arguing about craft and saying, well, this is a trope and this is a theme, and, you know, but
Right, right.
I sort of wanted a general term, and so I kind of weaseled out a wee bit and said, came up with the concept of topic tags, like things that are in a story. And one of the great things about genre fiction is we've got to generally be pretty clear about what is in our books. We have to, like, if you've got a found family theme or an enemies to lovers theme or something, you should probably have those words in your blurb somewhere.
Yeah.
And because I'm a pretty simple guy, um, I'm fine with that. You know, there's no room for coyness. You've got to be pretty clear about what's in your book. You know, you can show off, you can have a little bit of cleverness, and you can kind of hook people in, and that's cool. But a lot of what we want is to be very clear to readers. Okay, this is what is in this book, and if you like this kind of book, you should maybe give it a try. So one of the things that we do in Kindle Trends then is get all of the best-selling blurbs for a month or something in a given category, and then look at the frequency of certain kinds of words. And then we kind of group them by tags. This is like a text analysis kind of thing. And you see this a lot in the news when people are writing reports about soybeans and stuff like that. But I prefer to use it in this situation because it's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And so to give you an example, if a blurb has a lot of romance words in it, then it will get romance associated tags. If a blurb has words like heist or robbery or crime or murder or something, then it will get the crime tag. And what we've done over the last sort of 24 months is look at the relative popularity of all of these tags in the top 400 books every month, month after month after month. And, you know, books come in and they come out and stuff, but what we're looking at is what are the most common things in the books that are making money, that are appealing to readers right now. And there's two really interesting findings. One is that markets, I don't think, are as trendy as we think they are. Popular themes or story elements in large genres like mystery or romance or science fiction, fantasy, whatever, those things tend to be pretty constant. So they don't
Mm.
go up and down, with one exception, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the other interesting thing is the tag crime is the top five, more like the top three, for every genre there is. It's the top in mystery, which is like, yeah, of course it is.
Obviously, yeah.
It's also the top in romance. It's also the
Wow.
top in science fiction. It's also the top in fantasy.
And
Like
why
it's in
is
the top
this?
5. Well,
What's
see,
your
that's the
theory?
thing. You would know as a craft expert, you'll have your own theories, and I'd love to hear them. I think because I was like, whoa, I must have missed a comma here somewhere or failed to carry the one or something like that. And then I looked at it and I wasn't, oh, no, it wasn't. And I think what it is a very interesting craft finding, which is that crime and criminal behavior is actually a very flexible plot instrument for lots of stories in lots of genres. It can motivate a character's backstory. It can
Mm,
raise stakes, like at the
mhm.
midpoint turn. It can act as the justification for something in a denouement, but also it can act in romance. There's likely to be crime in the far future. I'm sure there was crime in the distant past. So it's, of all the elements, it's one which is maybe the most flexible of all the things that we use to craft stories, and that I think is why it's consistently popular isn't the word, but it's consistently frequent in almost every kind of genre.
I find that absolutely fascinating.
Yeah,
And
weird,
also
eh?
on a
Yeah.
like a 30,000-foot psychological level, my history as I was writing, but I was also a 911 dispatcher. And so I think a lot about
Mm.
danger and fear and crime and all of those things. Um, and one of the reasons I believe that people love to have crime mixed in with their stuff, no matter what genre they're reading in, it always means that if we're watching something, if we're watching someone be in danger or watching something scary happen, it means it's not happening to us, which is why
Yeah, yep,
people
yep,
like to watch scary shows and read scary books because we can keep our eyes on the danger. And if
yep,
we're folding that into what we're writing, and that is also a hook or a lure for our readers to want to be inside it too.
yep.
Oh, that's just
Yep,
so
yep.
juicy.
It is interesting. Yeah, although I'd also add that it can create a sense of what's the word, momentum for a character arc. So
Mhm.
really obvious one, like in a romance, you can have a character who has a criminal past, and that is a sort of slam dunk, very universally recognizable way of giving them a redemption arc.
Mhm.
So you've got character momentum and stuff without there ever actually being any actual crimes going on
Yes.
in the story, right? So you can have
Yeah.
someone who was a cat burglar or something, and then you've got bam, inbuilt character arc, also tension. Will their criminal past be uncovered? Should they do something wrong to avoid it being uncovered? If they're trying to put that behind them and all of those kinds of things. So again, that's a good example of where you don't actually have to have any crimes in your narrative
On
for
the
the
page, right?
concept of crime to provide like oomph to your plot.
Yeah, I remember Kristen Higgins wrote one of her early rom-coms, and the hero had just gotten out of prison, which was so taboo at the time. This is, 10, 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I 100% don't remember what he did or why he went in, and I don't care. But
No, 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 no,
it was
exactly.
the equivalent of him walking with a limp from the wars, right? That was his wound that I
Having a
wanted to see him.
mysterious scar that he doesn't talk about, or
Exactly,
something. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That
Because
was
it's a
it.
mystery. Yeah, there's an element of like what's going on and everything. Yeah. So one of the things that I really like about that whole finding was it was completely empirical. Like
Yeah.
I had no idea that it was going to happen before we did it. I just sort of ran the numbers and went, oh, that's a bit strange. And that's the scientist in me kind of really enjoys that part because that's a genuine research kind of discovery. But also it's not abstruse or anything. Like it's an interesting thing which is relatable to every author's kind of daily experience, and that's what I like
Mhm.
actually. It's kind
And
of cool.
also
So
it's going to make people feel good if they have crime elements in their novels. And also it doesn't need to you don't need to go add one. People, if you don't
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
one,
I mean, it's a
that's
question
fine
of
too. Yeah.
what's the like with any trope, like I was saying, with any plot element, what's it doing in a story? For me, that's the thing. It's not there for the thing itself. It's there because of the role that it plays in a story, raising stakes, moving the narrative forward, creating a certain kind of tone, like drama or bathos or whatever. So
Mhm.
when I'm looking at stories, I'm sort of always, if I've got my kind of craft hat on, I'm always saying, what role are these elements playing in the story, and how can I fold that into my own storytelling?
Speaking of craft and your own writing, we won't go into your pen name or anything like that. But what I would just love to know, what is your favorite part of writing? What is the part of writing that brings you the most joy?
Ooh, um, it's not clicking publish and worrying about whether my book's going to tank or not. I can tell you that.
What?
So
I
that's
can't
one of
believe
the
it.
no, the old anxiety attack. I don't enjoy that. No, we've all done it, but That's a good question. Um, I think there's a couple of things I like. I like the sense of looking back. This is going to sound a bit strange. I like the sense of looking back on a book I wrote a little while ago and saying, actually, that was okay. Actually, I'm okay
Oh
with this.
yeah.
It's not because you're wrestling with the plot and it's never the way you want or something like that.
Hmm.
And you sort of, you go, all right, this is okay. It's okay. It's not terrible. It's how I want it. Yep. And then later on, with a little bit of distance, you go back and you look at it and you're like, that was quite funny. That was a good line. Wow, that was so that's nice. I like that. And I suppose the other thing, which is maybe a bit obvious, is I really like getting emails from or any kind of correspondence from readers and having them tell me that their book that they enjoyed my book, or that it made a difference to them, or that it touched them emotionally. That's I still haven't lost, and I bet you haven't, I still haven't lost the wow factor that I can actually, like, it's not even the getting paid's cool, but the idea that I can actually affect people emotionally just by making up stories. Like,
Like
I don't, as old as I get, I don't think I'll ever lose the sense of wonder about that.
the wonder and joy. And I just got one actually this morning from someone, and I was like, how did I get this lucky that
Yeah.
somebody took time from their day? I mean, how often do you read a book that you love and then you pick up you go to the computer and write them a note? You don't do that. I don't do that very often.
No,
Sometimes I do it, but
no.
I almost never do it. I close a book with gratitude and move on to the next book. And the fact that somebody takes the time to do that always just absolutely blows me
Yeah,
away.
yeah, that's
All
wonderful.
right.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to explore Kindle Trends, where would they go and what would they do?
Right. So the first thing is you can go to kindletrends.com, and we'll have the link in the show notes. You can sign up there. First month's completely free. One of the things is I'm not really an internet salesperson. I'm a writer first and foremost, and I do this at least partly to kind of help the community. So it's intentionally priced really low, and we'll talk about a discount code in a sec. And like, I very much want it to be worth people. I want it to be saving people money every month. There's one flat price, no upselling, no premium tiers, nothing like that. And if it's not useful for you, I'll just give you your money back. It's not a big deal,
I know
right?
you
Seriously.
I know you would too.
Yep, got to
Can
pay.
people
Yep,
come
2 hours.
in if they want to get the research for a month or two and then go out and then
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back
sure.
in the
No,
next
it's
time their
months.
book is published? Do you
Subscriptions are
do that?
month to
Yeah.
month. You can cancel at any time. If it's not, as I say, if it's not paying, if it's not saving you money every month, I don't want to take your money. I want to make the product better, so it is, basically. And I think it does that, and I think it saves people. I think it's good value for what it is. And if I could get a wee bit soapboxy for like 10 seconds, one of the things that I really wanted to do was, because I'm kind of a bit of an egalitarian, is I wanted to give indie authors a set of heavyweight analysis tools that are the kind of things that the big five publishing houses have access to. But indies generally don't. I want to level the playing field for indies, and I think we've done that. I think we've got, with Kindle Trends, we've got some stuff that is the equal of anything that people at Penguin Random House or anyone else has got, and that's my ambitious goal, right? Is to give indies
I
something where
think
they
it's
can do the same stuff.
I think it's better. I think it's better because I think that there's such high turnover right now at a lot of the big five publishers in all of the ways that they probably have those tools and not the people to run them or build them or understand what's going on. And we
Expertise.
see that in what happens with their blurbs and their keywords and their
Yeah,
covers, and this makes it makes the indie writer stronger.
yes,
So
yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and the sense of community. The other thing I think I want to really emphasize with Kindle Trends is that I like to think of myself as being sort of a community liaison. Is maybe, it sounds a bit kind of silly, but what I'm saying is I don't purport to know anything about other people, about genres. As I say, I barely know about my own, but instead what I do try and do is crowdsource a lot of information. I'm out talking to writers every day, asking them, hey, does this make sense to you? I'm seeing this in the data. Does that resonate with things that you've seen based on your own knowledge, or does it challenge it? If so, what does it mean? So that's a very important part. And a lot of the consensus, like, the idea of the concept of the topic tags that we were talking about before, that's all crowdsourced. You can download the list for free off the Kindletrends website if you want to look at it. If you think, hey, this one's not right, or there's this other thing that's a really important concept in my genre, then I welcome people emailing me and saying, hey, this is, you should add this. Because that's exactly how it all kind of comes out, so much of indie publishing is a team sport that I think we really want to focus on that. And the data analysis stuff in a way kind of helps, because it means we've got this one set of data that we can talk about, and we can argue about, hey, what does this mean? Oh, I think it means that. And, but we've got the data there and it's accessible to everyone, which I think is kind of cool.
I love that. And it's $7,000 a month, or
so one of the things that I wanted to do was to offer something to your listeners and viewers, I guess, Rachel. And so I've set up a discount code. And what were we going to call it?
I think let's call it "How Do You Write?"
How do you write? Yep. Okay. So if you go to the Kindletrends website and put in the discount code, how do you write? Normally Kindletrends is $15 a month. All of the pricing is in US dollars. I stress again, though, that the first month is completely free. If you don't like it, you can just cancel and that's it. But if you use the code, how do you write, then you will get $5 off forever. So it will be 10 measly US dollars a month. And I hope that it's at least that much value for you. So that's in perpetuity for as long as you want it.
That's good stuff. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank
I
you.
really
Oh,
appreciate you
not
doing
at
that
all,
for
not
my
at all.
listeners, because it is very cool. And I am so glad to know you, and you're an awesome chap. And
No.
it's so fun to talk to you. Where are you from in New Zealand?
I was born in Auckland, but I grew up in Taranaki, in the shadow of Mount Taranaki, on a sheep
Nice.
farm, as it happens.
So my people are from the sheep farms of Ashburton and Methven.
Oh, really? I
So a
didn't
little,
really. Oh,
little south. That's why
interesting.
you've got
Okay.
a posher accent than my people.
Yeah, I don't know about that. The
I
one
do.
thing
I do.
I don't remember about Whangamomina was that it was posh, but okay.
It's posher than Methven. Don't tell Methven. Okay. Nat, it has been so fun to talk to you. Thank you so much for everything that you give to the community, and it's been a joy to talk to you.
Yeah, it was cool. Thank you very much, Rachel.